simple aphorisms that could be easily by-hearted were more convenient. So the Brahma Sutra has got its sutras, Narad Bhakti Darshan has got its sutras, so has Nyaya Vaisheshik, etc. These sutras are short. However, they say a lot in few words. As William Shakespeare had said, that brevity is the soul of wit. Another gentleman called George Byrne, he said, the format of a good sermon should be thus: a good beginning, a good end, and the beginning and end being as close together as possible. So in these sutras, the words are few. Commentators have written their commentaries on this, and they have interpreted them variously. Now you would say, why the scope for interpretation? That should only happen if a word is a homonym, if it's got multiple meanings. Like, for example, the Sanskrit word Saindhava means horse. It also means table salt. So if somebody says, get me Saindhava, there is scope for doubt. Is that person saying, get me a horse or get me table salt? In which case, you have to refer to the context. If he's sitting on the table, then naturally he's referring to salt, not to a horse. And if he's outside, then naturally he's referring to the horse, not to salt. So it has to be interpreted according to context. And sometimes the words lend to different meanings. For example, there is the statement, Ekadashyam ahoratram kartavyam bhojanatrayam. Now, if you look at it simply, Ekadashyam ahoratram kartavyam bhojanatrayam. It is saying, on Ekadashi day, it is your duty to have bhojan, meals 3 times a day. You'll say, how can that be? On Ekadashi, we are supposed to have meals 3 times a day? No. You separate out the bhojana. It's supposed to be bho. Oh, bho means oh. Oh, human beings. On the Ekadashi day, you have these 3 duties. Stay up at night. Don't eat and engage in remembrance of the Lord. So because of this slight scope for interpretations, different views have been formed. That is why, to truly understand what these sutras are saying, we have to always refer to the context. What is the previous sutra? What is the sutra ahead? Maharshi Patanjali is definitely not an Advaiti. He doesn't believe that we are all God. He clearly refers to the Lord as separate from the soul. So with that understanding, let us take a look at what Maharshi Patanjali has to say. Atha Yog-anushaasanam Atha Yog-anushaasanam. With prayers for divine blessings, now begins an exposition of the sacred science of Yoga. The intent of Maharshi Patanjali in these sutras is to teach us the science of yoga. So he begins with this word atha, Many of the writers of other scriptures also used atha. For example, Narad ji started, Athato bhaktim vyakhyāsyāmah. Atha bhaktim vyakhyāsyāmah. So what does atha mean in the case of Bhakti Darshan? Kripaluji Maharaj explains. He says, look, Narad has written Narad Smriti, in which he explained Karma Kand. Then he wrote Narad Pancharatra, in which he explained a mixture of Karma Kand and Bhakti. Now he is writing, after having written these two, as a sequence, he is writing Bhakti Darshan. In the Brahma Sutra, the word again starts with atha. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now inquire into the absolute truth. So what does atha mean there? Jagadguru Shankaracharya says. He says, after having reached this position, now Brahma Jigyasa. Once you become sadhan chatushtay sampan, once you reach this qualification, now inquire into the absolute truth. So, Maharishi Patanjali, what does he mean out here by atha? These two don't seem relevant. So, what it seems is that this word atha also means invoking blessedness. So, invoking the blessings of the Supreme Lord, says Maharishi Patanjali. Now, let us expound the science of yoga. Now, in this, Yog-anushaasanam, he says. Shasaan means discipline. Discipline means to voluntarily undertake austerity to progress. Like, for example, people say that the fact that you all came here, this was an austerity that you undertook. So you are disciplining yourself by participating in this program. And to ensure that we get the maximum out of it, we are maintaining a tight hold over the time. By the minute, we are progressing. This is a discipline or shasaan. So discipline means when something is unpleasant initially, and yet you do it because it is beneficial. You don't say, when I'm bored, then it is my discipline to see movies. That's not a discipline, that's an indulgence. And if you say, even though I'm terribly bored, I will not see movies, that is a discipline. And here he says anushaasanam, not shasanam. Anushaasanam is not imposed from the outside. It is imposed from the inside. Similarly, as long as you are here in this sadhana program, impose a discipline on yourself if you wish to get the maximum out of this retreat. Because we wish to subdue and train the mind. And the mind is like a little child, indisciplined. I want to lie down. I want to speak to my children in Bay Area. So if we wish to control the mind, we need to impose a discipline on ourselves. We now move on to the second sutra. Yogaha
Yogaha
Chitta Vritti
Chitta Vritti
nirodhaha.
Nirodhaha.
Yogaschitta vritti nirodhaha.
Yogaschitta vritti nirodhaha.
The science of yoga consists in the control of the workings of the mind. This mind is so important. Jagadguru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj reminded us about it again and again and yet again. Bandhan aur moksha ka karan man hi bakhan radhe radhe. Yate kauniyu bhakti karu karu manate hari dhyan radhe radhe. He wrote in the Bhakti Shatak that bondage is due to the mind. Liberation is due to the mind. So the spiritual aspirant must endeavor to improve the mind. We wear the Radhe Shami. Why? To remind the mind to keep spiritual thoughts. But if we just have the Radhe Shami and keep material thoughts in the mind, it doesn't work. Ultimately, it's all about the mind. And everything else in spirituality is to help us. That is why the Vishnu Puran says, Smartavyaha satatam Vishnor vismartavyo na jatuchit sarve vidhi nishedhasyuretayoreva kinkara. There are so many rules in the scriptures. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. The purpose of all of these was twofold. Number one, always remember God. Number two, never forget God.